Welcome to this version of Ask Ollivander. A big thank you to Sophie for reaching out and suggesting the topic for this session. In this short session, we'll be looking at grammar and the answer to the question, what is the difference between active and passive voice? We will start with a very simple active voice sentence. The dog chased the cat. To be able to identify whether a sentence is active or passive, we need to identify first the subject of the sentence, in this case the dog, the verb, that's the action of the sentence, and in some sentences they'll also have an object, in this case the cat. The difference between active and passive is relatively simple. In an active voice sentence, the subject of the sentence is performing the action. In this example, the dog is doing the chasing. But in a passive voice sentence, the subject of the sentence is no longer doing the action. They are having the action done unto them. So in this instance, the same action would be rewritten as the cat was chased by the dog. The cat has become the subject of the sentence and is no longer doing the action. The dog is still doing the chasing, but the dog is now the object of the sentence and not the subject of the sentence. In this example, the subject is not performing the verb, and therefore this is a passive sentence. I often tell students when spotting the passive voice to look for auxiliary verbs, such as the was before chased, but also for the word by, which indicates that someone else must be doing the action. Often, however, the object is not included in the sentence, but by adding a simple phrase like by the dog at the end of the sentence, you can still see that it is a passive sentence. A common method for testing children's understanding of active and passive can be seen here, where 4 sentences will be given and the children asked to identify whether they are active or passive. As we have already explored, we will need to be able to identify the subject of the sentence, which I will identify here in red, and the verb or the action of the sentence, which I'll identify with green. In this first sentence, the subject of the sentence is very clear. It actually starts the sentence, and it's the footballer. The verb is actually using 2 verbs, was substituted. You will remember from the previous slide that auxiliary verbs, such as the was in was substituted, are often a clue that this might be the passive voice. The second clue, the word by, isn't actually present here. However, I could add it to the end of this sentence by saying by the manager. Because of these, I can conclude that this sentence is in fact passive. The footballer is not doing the act of substitution. The manager is. So this is a passive voice sentence. In the next sentence, they have switched to present tense. However, this doesn't change a whole lot. In this instance, we can identify that the subject is the basketball players, and the verb, the doing word, is bounce. In this sentence, the basketball players are doing the bouncing, so therefore this is a simple active sentence. In the next example, they have added a level of complexity by not starting the sentence with the subject. We can, however, quickly realise that the sentence is not about thirst, but is about the netball player, and that they are therefore the subject of this sentence. Once we've overcome this, we can quickly see that it is the subject of the sentence, the netball player, who has grabbed the water bottle, and therefore they are performing the action. The sentence is therefore active. In our final example, they have further complicated things with a phrase before the main clause. In this instance, we must find the main clause or purpose of the sentence, which, in this case, is the cricket match was continued. To test the sentence, I simply ask the question, does a cricket match continue itself, or is it continued by someone else? The answer, of course, is that an umpire continues the match, and therefore the sentence in this form, the cricket match was continued, is passive. You could now think of it as, despite the rain, the cricket match was continued by the umpire. This makes it passive. We hope this video has been of interest to you. Should you have any questions or want to suggest a topic for future videos, please find us at one of our many social media accounts.